Okay, so welcome. I just muted everybody for the sake of our sanity. Hopefully you can hear me. Thank you for taking time to join us. I am hopeful that we can shed a little bit of light on where we're at with our program, where USA Swimming's at, and go through some just things that I think are important for you guys to hear, and then hopefully answer some questions from you all that maybe we haven't thought of or have not didn't address to the way, you know, what you want to hear. So first, when we go to Q&A, let's really try to keep the everybody on mute, and I would like you to use I actually don't even see the raise your hand feature, which usually is up, but let's just try to keep it organized. We'll take our time and work through and try to get everybody's questions answered. I'm going to start with a billing clarification. I know that a lot of you had questions about March when the communication came out from DU. I think that's all been resolved with basically the first month dues were paid. The second half of the month, you could choose to donate them, or you could choose to use them on the next month that we are going to have whenever the programming resumes. April, there are no dues, and March, as of right now, is just an unknown. I will ask that you go in and check your household balances. Allison, Austin, and I, with a little bit of help from Rachel and Hunter, did a big reconciliation project where we checked into all of the meets that had happened in the last 3 months and tried to resolve the late entries, people who missed payments. As I told you in the parent meeting, that's still running at about 25 to 30% of our entries, where there is an error in the way that the meets were entered. And we're just hoping to get that cleared up as soon as possible. Just because the further we get away from it, I just think the messier it's going to get. So I will say, with a kind heart of forgiveness, that Austin and Allison and I are not, this is our first foray into billing at all. So please be, if you see something that you think you have a question about, send Hilltoppers at DU an email, send Rachel an email, and we'll do our best to answer the why of what, from our side, what we see. But understand that, like, it's possible there was a transaction error, but we really don't think that there are. But please open a line of communication if you have questions. I'm going to give you a little bit of sectionals update for those of you that were signed up for that meet. If it has not hit, the travel and the entry fees will be completely refunded. And I spelled this out in the last newsletter, but Southwest will not give us a refund. What they will give us is a credit for all of the flights. So I think that's like 63 flights credited back. So we're going to manage an internal credit with Southwest. Now, that's not super easy because we don't always fly Southwest. So we're trying to, we will work with individual scenarios, but we would really like if you would just be patient with that. It's very similar to what you would get with Southwest if you'd booked on your own, is you basically are getting credit. You're just getting credit through the University of Denver. I'm going through kind of a list of things. After you hear what I have to say, you may question whether or not Summer Club is going to happen as well. But if there are those of you who are intending to leave for Summer Club and have not connected with hilltoppers at du.edu, please reach out and let us know if we are supposed to stop your billing on May 15th. Some updates. I'm sure that a lot of you are very familiar with the the stay-at-home order that's through the 26th. That's going to be followed by an extended period of no large public gatherings. USA Swimming is currently on a ban of any sanctioned meets until April 30th. That's likely to be longer. The bottom line is that we're in this for a while, and organized practice is probably a little further away than anybody wants it to be. So I think that as you start to wrap your brain around it and lean into this a little bit, there's some approaches, and we've already started talking to the older kids about this, is good ways to mentally manage what's coming and what we're gonna be working through. So some further updates. The University of Denver has furloughed all part-time staff. That was a university-wide decision. The reason that I bring that up is not just to let you know where they're at, where the staff is at. Austin, Allison, and I are working regularly every day, but I would like all communication to come through us, just so that the part-time staff are not trying to navigate responding. And I mean, you can send them well wishes, but please try not to ask them for like meet reconciliation questions or other things like that. Please try to direct those questions through the staff that are still working on a regular basis. So having laid out all of those things, what are we doing? Like, what is the program doing? So there is some really new and exciting things that we have spent the last couple weeks working on, and they're just now starting to get rolled out. The first one that I would like to show you is the virtual programming website. And I'm gonna do a screen share here to kind of show you, if you haven't looked at it, what this looks like. But basically DU has created online content for the university, and it also is going to encompass content for our program and for our athletes, things that we've been using and been doing. So you can see in here, there's swimming. Here, Austin and I have put together quite a few videos. We've only rolled out these 5, but they are things that your children are probably familiar with. They're things that they can be using. These are all warm-up exercises. We're rolling out the content over time, but they can be using this information to help them with the dry land they've been assigned. If they forgot something, if they want a little review, if you guys need a workout, you can check in on a lot of the dry land that we have been doing. It should be coming up online over the course of the next couple weeks. Secondarily, the nutrition webinar that we did last Friday, which thank you to those who joined. I thought it was great. We had an ex-Hilltopper athlete that ran the webinar. And then I have a webinar up that I did for USA Swimming as well. This is going to continue to populate. And it's going to populate with things that I think are relevant to both you and your kids as we move forward. So if you haven't checked that out, check it out. It will not be static. It will be growing regularly. We've put in a lot of front end time on creating a scenario where we think that we can have relevant content and things that will be beneficial for the athletes, and hopefully maybe for the parents too. With some of the older groups, and even with the younger groups, there was a dry land plan that was sent out to every group. The regularity of that communication varies by group. We ask the part-time staff to do that while they were still being paid. So there was some communication there. And if you have questions, just please keep in mind that, like I said, it's Austin, Allison, and I holding down the fort right now. So we're doing our best to think about the broad scope of the team, and then also the kids that train on a more regular basis and dealing with them on a kind of a sliding scale. I will say that what the intent of some of these team-wide activities, and we've got some technique talks coming up, is that that content is going to be for the whole team. And then there is a little bit of continued content going on with the higher level groups where we're in a little bit more regular contact with the athletes. We have also started a Instagram page, and I'm going to give all credit to Austin and Allison here. The handle is DU Hilltoppers, and it was created to take some of that content and make it more accessible to the kids in a way that they can process it and digest it. We're going to use it in a bunch of different ways, but one thing that I would mention, and this was in the last newsletter, is that please make sure they understand and respect the minor athlete protection policies of USA Swimming. There's no direct messaging. No coaches will allow an athlete to follow them personally. Just keep this in context for what it is a medium of communication. As I made reference to, we've got the nutrition webinar. We're doing a technique talk a little bit later this week with the Senior 2 and Elite group. But then we're going to post that for the whole team to see later, where we've got video content of swimming and then a Q&A from the older kids on the team. We have engaged some sports psych where it's available with the groups that already had sports psych consultants. And we are in an ongoing way participating in, the kids who need recruiting advice or working through that. We are continuing to participate in that. So those are all the things that we are doing, without dues, and just really trying to make this right for the kids and for everyone involved. I'm going to take the mute off of everyone. Hopefully this works out. And I'm going to open the floor here to Austin and Allison if they would like to hop in here for a second.
All right, I'll go ahead and start, Allison. Nice to see everybody. It's been fun to do a little bit of engagement over the last couple of weeks and hope to continue the Zoom get-togethers. I guess I just want to open myself up as like a resource, and just feel free to reach out at any point. Like Shawn said, we're finding ourselves just as busy during this time, and I'm happy to hear from you guys about anything. So yeah, just feel free to reach out as necessary.
Hey everyone, I'll kind of just echo that. I hope everyone's doing well. It's certainly been weird not being on deck for 3.5 hours every day and kind of adjusting our schedule, but we're trying to stay as engaged with the athletes as we can. And just, yeah, similar to what Austin said, I definitely want to hear from you guys, and any questions that you have, anything that would be helpful for your athletes. Like, I definitely want to be there as much as I can be. So please reach out with any questions, and I hope to see everyone again soon.
Thank you both. I think we got the audio under control here, so I'm going to leave it on an interactive scenario. I think that the question that everybody is asking, and as if we've worked through a couple weeks of athlete-based calls, is what's going to happen? What's the timeline? Every single meeting, when is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? So look, you can't hold me to any of this, but I'm going to give you my very best estimate of the timeline that you can expect. The start of practice is probably the hardest part, because it really depends on how the health recommendations change, what happens after shelter in place is lifted, how long the, no gatherings of 10 or more is maintained. But assuming that there's a period of that after shelter in place is lifted, I'm optimistic that we will get back to practice. I think that's going to happen well before any competitions are allowed. I've told every athlete that I've talked to be prepared for no meets this summer. And I mean no meets, no nothing, no meets. I do not see that there will be competition available in the context of the gathering size recommendations by the end of the summer. And I know that the first time that I heard that, it was like a gut punch, and it took like a week before I could even repeat it. But the more that I talk with USA Swimming staff, the more that it's had time to settle in, I really expect that there will not be sanctions allowed by USA Swimming through the remainder of the summer season. I think we'll be training during that time. I can't tell you the way that we're going to be training. As if it's small groups, if we get back to like a full scenario where everyone is back in the group together by the end of the summer, that would be awesome. But I'm trying to be realistic, and if you expect that and then we get meets, even better. But you should have an expectation of no meets this summer. I think that after we are allowed to have competitions again, you can probably expect a period of maximum participant type events that may not look like the Pioneer Open did last year. I think that it's going to be a scenario where we're going to have smaller competitions. And I mean, this is very speculative, but there's a possibility that will be in place until there's a vaccine, or until it is not like a pressing problem on US soil. I just feel like the way that we've been conducting the sport and the number of people that are included in our events is something that's going to be really challenging. And I don't have a timeline. I'm just giving you a kind of a roadmap of this is going to happen, then this, and then this. And none of those things are going to be closely spaced. I think they're going to take time. So I think that, I mean, there's a lot to be worked through as information comes available. I expect that in the next week or two, USA Swimming will make an announcement with both. They're going to work backwards from Olympic trials to today. And so they're going to announce the dates of Olympic trials. I fully expect them to change the format of the Tier Pro series that lead into that. I expect them to cancel the US national meet this summer and probably pull funding on sectionals and futures meets. The only question is whether or not they'll go all the way down to like the local LSC level. That would impact everyone. So I've been thinking a lot, as I'm sure you guys have, about what do we learn from this? So I can share a little bit of the message that we've been sharing with our athletes, and probably helpful if you support this as well, but certainly better nutrition is the first thing. Just taking an opportunity in their life to like think about what they're putting in their body, how they're fueling their body. And then thinking about a fitness-based lifestyle. Every single one of you has made the decision when you got out of college of how you're going to live, what you're going to do to take care of yourself. It's a really rare moment that athletes are confronted with that in the middle of their career. Most of them get to the end of their career and then they gain some weight, and then they decide somewhere in the next 1 to 3 to 5 years what their lifestyle is going to look like. Your kids get to have a little moment of reflection right now, whether or not they're going to be willing to do a workout just to keep themselves healthy, or go for a bike ride, or maintain activity regularly within the context that they can right now. But certainly just in the bigger picture of, what like kind of a life choice of being healthy. They're going to learn a ton about dealing with adversity. And I think that that's something, especially with the older kids that are a little bit more socially mature and have a little bit more investment in the sport. I think we're trying to give them a support system within the sports psych consultants to managing diversity. And then lastly, I think that certainly with the top end, we've had kind of a message and theme this year of living in the moment. And I'm sure every one of you has had frustration and significant challenges in the last several weeks. I think our sport is particularly impacted just because we're locked out of the facilities. So patience. This isn't something anybody wants, but if you can look at this in a way that you trust and respect what's going on and lean in on our staff when you need to, I think that when we come out of this, we'll probably have a stronger bond as a club. So with that, I would like to open it up to questions. I see if you can raise your hand, Darrigan, you raised your hand. Darrigan, go ahead. Beautiful.
So Shawn, can I take you back to one of the first things you talked about? So as a DU faculty member and a member of the DU Senate, I actually heard a number of weeks ago about DU's plan for staff. And so I've been looking around the country. And as you know, I know people in swimming all over this country. So I've been talking to people in Pacific Northwest, Texas swimming, Sierra Nevada swimming, Pacific swimming. And I reached out to a lot of clubs in Colorado, and every club, 100% of the clubs that I know of in Colorado are giving members the option to continue paying dues voluntarily, either at a full rate or a half rate or a partial rate. Is DU open to the possibility of Tops taking care of its coaches through voluntarily still paying our dues?
Yep. So it's important to understand the context of our program, which is, DU has hundreds, literally thousands of part-time staff, and there's hundreds of other part-time staff in the Ritchie Center. So the decision, as you know, the decision was thought through. It was made on a campus-wide basis, and it was done to be fair and consistent with the other part-time staff members at the university. It was also done in a way that allowed our coaches to apply for unemployment if they chose to, which would at least give them immediate relief, whether or not be a full paycheck. It's immediate relief. I think that there is certainly sentiment to your question and a lot of sympathy for it. We have, as a university, not come to like a clear understanding of what our pathway forward and what our options might be within the parameters of human resources and just the other things that be involved in being a campus. Your gesture is very, very, very kind, and I too have the same question. I don't know if I'm answering this to the best of my ability at this time. It's a discussion that's ongoing. I think that I don't know. Jesse, do you want to comment? Do you want to weigh in here? This is Jesse. He is one of our directors, and maybe you can add anything to it that you like.
Yeah, we've talked about that quite a bit. And what we've kind of come to is we'd be open to exploring some options in that realm. But we really need to gauge the interest level of the entire club. Like, is there enough interest level for us to make this beneficial for everybody to do? So if we could set up a system to gauge that interest, and Shawn and I have spoken about that briefly today, that'd be something that the Department of Athletics and Recreation would be willing to explore.
So I mean, maybe a pathway forward on this is either if there is a group of people that are interested, feel free to reach out to me, or maybe we can design even some kind of survey. And don't commit me to that, but like something where we can get like a little better gauge on the projectability of this and what it would actually look like for us to try to execute something. And again, I just want to emphasize that this is even the pursuit of this is something pretty exceptional. It would be entirely driven by your generosity, and hopefully it would be reciprocated right back to our coaching staff. So I think that the best way is, let's see, if you would like to reach out to me and help me understand, just a quick email, like just a quick note. If there is sentiment towards this, then maybe we can work on how we could collectively mobilize it and start gaining steam on a better pathway forward. Is that fair, Darrigan?
Yeah, so just to be clear, what I'm proposing would be, and this is how most clubs are doing it that I've reached out to. And again, this is a wide range of clubs across the entire United States that I've been reaching out to in the last couple of weeks. And, what I propose is those of us who are lucky enough to keep our jobs and who have been less affected by this and are able to, and we are willing to, we let know to keep billing us. I am perfectly willing to keep paying for all three of my kids, and I'm still currently paying for my Ritchie Center membership, even though I'm not using the facility. Well, I paid it through March. But for those of us who couldn't do that, we make an option available that you could pay 50% of your dues, or you could pay 25% of your dues. Or if you're really uncertain right now and you're in the same position as many of our part-time employees, you don't know what's coming, maybe you set up a one-time donation, but a completely voluntary effort to just really reach out to people who mean so much to our kids and let them know that we're there for them.
Again, very much appreciated. We'll take that and try to walk forward with it. Are there any other questions? I know that I covered quite a bit of information at the beginning of this talk. Anybody on a rewind have questions?
So just in the comments section, Rebecca mentioned that she already got a survey from DU Athletics. Rebecca, that was only for March dues. We were given the option to donate back our March dues, and that was going to end at the end of March, and they were no longer going to collect dues. And
to be clear, the University of Denver paid all part-time staff through the end of the month of March. So that was reciprocated right through to the staff with whatever percentage of donations we received. Any other questions? Okay. Probably the other thing that I would like to get out of this is, I laid out a bit of information, and I'm happy to do this again on probably about the beginning of May. If you can just nod your head for those of you that I can see, does that sound about right? I assume that somewhere around this shelter in place, that we'll have, hopefully around the end of April, the beginning of May, we'll have a lot more information about what is coming, what the timelines might look like, and other details. So we're going to continue forward with all the things that I laid out with our kids, and I would encourage you to get them to engage with the virtual programming website, because we're putting a lot of time and effort into that. And I think there's also, I don't want to fail to mention that there's stuff like Les Mills workouts and things that you can benefit from as an adult member of the Ritchie Center, that are resources that the university is just doing to promote wellness within our community. So I would encourage you to spend time on that. I think it's going to continue to populate content over the course of the next coming weeks, but we've all put in a lot of work on the front side on this to try to make it be something that's a useful tool to help us manage this. So take advantage of it for sure. One more pass. Any questions? Yeah.
Hey, Shawn, this is Hitton. Not a question. First of all, just thank you guys for you and the coaches and the whole DU team for doing what you guys are doing. It's amazing to see Shawn engaged, even if he's not swimming. So we really, truly appreciate that. And I'm sure every single parent does as well. Is there anything as a team that we can do, since a lot of us are home, that can help the team out in any way that you guys have thought of, or any ideas anyone can come up with?
I wish, I mean, I'm open, Austin and Allison, if you guys have suggestions. I mean, really right now, we are just looking at the new face of what youth athletics is going to be like in the next 2, 4, and 6 months. And really strategically trying to figure out a way to both put our kids in a position of advantage, benefit them now, help them through it, and set them up for success once we're back and rolling. There's so many unknowns in how that process works. And I've honestly just been nose to the grindstone, learning new technology and doing things that, you know, some of the projects we've done, like the team records, and I know Allison's working on a top 5 list now. These are things that we've wanted to do forever. But we all work so much that we have not had time to sit down and do some administrative projects. So I think that I don't have a great answer for like what you can do to help right now, besides maybe get in contact with Darrigan. But I know that we are trying to take this time to do some things with the team and for the team that we have not had the opportunity to do just because of the demands of the competitive schedule. Other questions?
Yeah, Shawn, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I typed it into the chat box, but I wanted to let you know. So U.S. Department of Transportation just issued an order for all the airlines to refund tickets.
For canceled flights.
For canceled flights, okay.
Our flight, unfortunately, was not canceled. They operated the plane. We just were not on it.
Okay.
So yes, I mean, trust me, I'm on detail with Southwest right now. Okay. We're on a first name basis. Because they operated the flight, they're acting in good faith, because we had to provide a lot of documentation about why the event was canceled. But unfortunately, we don't qualify for a refund. Other questions? Okay. If any of you think of things in the next couple of days, please feel free to reach out to Allison, Austin, or I. Please know that we'll do our best to get back to you. I'm in front of a computer quite a bit these days. So my intention and response time is to be able to get back to you pretty quickly. If you have thoughts along, you know, of things that we might be able to do to help, or please feel free to engage and reach out. I'll set up a Zoom call with you personally, or we can talk on the phone to figure out how you can help and what we might be able to do. Okay? All right.
Sounds good.
Take care. Be well, folks.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shawn.
Yep. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shawn.
Yep. Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks, Shawn.